Very good afternoon, all of you. Very good afternoon, very good afternoon. So, just waiting for a few more people to join. So, this is a GS Foundation and I'm Dr. Mohammad Zia. I'll be taking history. And just one question. First, a quick introduction from your side and then we can continue with what I have planned to do. So, just a quick introduction from your side, starting from Shiva. Okay. Yes, starting with Shiva. Yes, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Shiva Prasad. I completed my post-graduation in technical. MTech I completed, sir.
Great.
I am from AP, sir. AP, Kadapa district.
Which district?
Kadapa district, AP.
Okay. Great. So, this is your first attempt? This is your first time you are going for coaching, or you have not given any attempt previously?
No, sir, this is the first time.
That's great. Why you want to be a civil service?
From past 10 years onwards, I am thinking about after my graduation, sir.
Okay.
But due to some my problems, I continued my post-graduation. I worked as an assistant professor in engineering college. After that,
Great. No, the question is, what is that thing that drove you towards to be a civil servant?
I need to do service for nation regarding from my part of.
Okay. No, service for the nation is good. That's great. Everyone is doing. If you are coming to civil service, definitely you'll be serving the nation. But sometimes there is some other forces of motivation that work.
Especially I am interested to develop the food sector, sir. Especially food standard is very poor in India compared to some of the standard level. Everything is going to be some of the malpractice and the production from the starting, whatever the cultivating onwards is fully corrupted, sir. Mixing of chemicals, not and going to be natural thing. That's from my motivation to do in some sector.
So you want to be in IAS or you want to be in IPS?
Whatever I need to go for regarding that as a officer in that particular sector.
Great. No, because I have taught people from South and I'm not stereotyping people from South, but I have seen that they are more interested to be in IPS. Because of and honestly, that is the impact of the movies out there, where the IPS officer of any district is shown as a superhero, and I have observed that those who are coming from South, they have this apprehension that yes, we want to be an IPS officer, and that's true. Even and I have seen in Hyderabad, whenever a movie is released, this is to all people, especially who are from North India. Whenever a movie is released, it's not like it is released in North India. They have multi-story size cutouts of the actors and the actresses, and proper with all that something like Bharat or something like that is coming. That is how the first show is opened up. So that and honestly, movies have a great impact on the life of the people of the South. That's great.
But my intention, by myself, I face so many problems in agriculture. I visited so many areas.
Okay.
Whatever the agriculture sector in surrounding my area, some of the fully drought areas. They have the facility to develop the agriculture, but they don't have a facility and some of the sources from the government as well as from natural sources.
Okay.
I need to develop on that particular.
That's good. That's good. So you are like from food. You want to work for food from field to dining table. Everywhere you want that food should be good.
Yes, sir.
Great.
And a good quality food and natural without any chemicals.
Great. Yes. I'm sorry. It's Ankur. Hi. Good afternoon. So Ankur, introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Ankur Singh. I am from there.
Okay.
And I am B Mechanical 2007.
Okay.
I am basically preparing for Uttar Pradesh PCS.
Great.
I had already given my civil service attempts way back in 2011 and 12.
Okay.
I have been into education business in Nagpur.
Okay.
Due to COVID, I had to face the impact.
Okay.
So now I've come back to my mother parents' state, the police.
Okay.
And now I'm looking forward to crack this exam. If it can crack,
You will.
then yes, then I will as well. I also get an opportunity to serve the country.
Ah, that's great.
And if not,
That's
and
great.
If not, then I will get back into my education.
Okay. So basically you are just giving yourself a chance.
Very close.
Okay, good, that's good. It's never too late. Whenever you begin, it's never too late. And never ever feel that, okay, don't feel that, okay, people from graduation are coming in. And this is to everyone. I have seen aged people qualifying this exam. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
What matters is, what is your result? No matter when it is coming. No matter when it is coming.
Yes, sir.
Some get result at 23, good enough. Some get result at 32, same.
Yes, sir.
It's the same. It's not something very different. So that's great. So you are also an engineer. Great. Can I, Ali Hussain, if is it okay, if you can switch on your camera. Reason I know it's a virtual class, but at least let me give you should give me that. Yes, sir, we are present here. Ali.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you are from. Yes.
So actually there is an issue with the webcam.
No issues. No issues.
So that,
That's okay. So introduce yourself, please.
so myself, Yusuf, I'm an engineer.
Okay.
Passed out from mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
From the same year, recently passed out.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So basically my first goal or the childhood dream was to be an pilot.
Okay.
CPL, commercial pilot. But due to the scenarios regarding the aviation industries, because I think that being a pilot is an adventurous job.
Okay.
And due to the current scenarios in the COVID and the further issues, there are some means the jobs are not at that easier level.
Okay.
I faced some financial issues regarding that. So then after researching, I was in my third year
Okay.
in the engineering. Then I decided to take a turn towards the civil services examination.
Okay.
When I conveyed this to my parents, they also had a dream for me to be into the civil services.
Okay.
So that's how I got it.
So you are from which place?
So I'm from Maharashtra.
Which place? In Maharashtra, from where?
So Mumbai.
Mumbai itself. Okay. So now this is okay. One thing I got that civil services is your the alternative that you have opted for. Okay, that is what you have told me. But why civil services? The question is this. So sir, I'm not going to just I'll take a pause and I'll tell you that for me as a teacher, as a faculty, thing is not ki I came here, I gave you, I can tell you, there are two ways to teach. One, I come here, I tell you, okay, these are histories about facts. This is, I think, what you believe, and I can go. No, this is this whole thing for this whole GS foundation. It's the process of grooming yourself. I want that after roughly 40-45 days, when I end the syllabus, you should be a different person. I'm not here just to teach. Okay, so people say that don't hide anything from a doctor and a lawyer, and third one is a faculty. Never hide something. So why you want to be in civil services? And this is an interview question.
Yes.
This is an interview question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. As I said, my first childhood dream was to be a pilot because of the adventurous and the perks. So, not I'll say that not completing my dream or my childhood dream, I turned towards civil services because there are many adventurous jobs, many adventurous tasks, and apart from that, serving for the nation is, I think, another feeling.
Great. Okay.
Apart from working for the private institute.
Okay, means you are saying that if I have to put my bones and blood to work, why not to put it for nation rather than bringing it to someone else earning profit for me, profit for him?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
exactly, sir. And not getting the credit as well.
Great. Mitesh,
Yes, sir.
am I audible? Good afternoon. Very good afternoon. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. I'm Dr. Mitesh Kumar Shah
Okay.
from Gujarat, Nagar.
You're from
I come Gujarat.
Gujarat. Which district?
Surrender.
Sorry, you're not audible. Your voice is not clear, Mitesh.
Surrender.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Surrender.
Yeah. Please. Can you please be a bit loud? That would be great.
Yes, sir. 1 minute. I completed my graduation from Nagar.
Okay.
I am a 1 minute, sir.
Yeah. Please. At ease. I can. In the meanwhile, I can talk to Shwetanshu.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Ansari Sir. I came from Bihar
Okay.
and I have completed my graduation in commerce, that is BCom from Calcutta University.
Great.
And currently this is my first attempt.
Okay.
Other than this, sir, I have attempted the state PKs of Bihar.
Okay.
And, I have done my graduation in 2014.
Okay. See, one thing we have to cope up with that along with this technical things, this technical glitch will keep on coming. Sometimes there is no network, sometimes there is mic issues, sometimes, so that's okay. So we were talking about health and education. And to be honest, you see, I've been in this field for long, and I've always told people that unless and until we don't work on health and education of this country severely, that requires intense attention. We can't talk about development, at other parts, other sectors of the economy as such. And this we saw because the issues that rose, especially during the COVID times, was shown that yes, our health system need a complete, like we do engineers, like the overhauling of the engine. Well, most of the engineers, they are sitting here. So that is what is required for the whole health and education system. And this is the reason, if you will see, that private schools and private hospitals, they are earning like anything. The only reason that the public expenditure and the awareness of the people towards public health system is up to now it was different. I don't know what the perception people have after COVID, but yes, things will change. So that's great. Now about myself, told my name, and I'm teaching history. I'll be teaching you history. Now, how many of you hate history? I'll reframe. Yeah, that's great. How many of you don't like history? How many of you are scared of dates?
Yes, sir.
First thing you have to learn that for UPSC, or when you're studying GS especially, history is not at all about dates. History is not at all about dates. History is about connection. Connection of what? Connection of past, whatever has happened in the past, to future or to present. Because the thing that is expected from you, that you will work better in the present so that your future is glorified. That is why you have to be in the system. Am I right? Now, before this, what you have to understand is you have to understand examination. I'll come to the syllabus, don't worry about that. You have to understand the examination. Examination of UPSC, because most of you are coming for the very first time. What do you feel is different from examination of whatever you have given till your graduation or post-graduation and UPSC? Both are exam, both places there are syllabus, both places there are questions, both places you have to answer. Then UPSC is difficult. Why? Or what is the difference?
So, in below plus 12 level, they will ask what is the happening past only.
Okay.
What is situation, what happened? That much of questions come from the below 12 plus 12. After the graduation, it will be asked for extension. In UPSC will ask what is the past, what is the present, what is the future of the past and present scope, how we can able to achieve the problem.
Okay. ठीक है. That's it. Yes, anyone else? What is the difference you feel? Yes, Shwetanshu.
Sir, can you like with me, whatever mistakes we have done in past or in history, and the significance we can take from that event, so that our present and future will be great.
See, understand question first. I am asking, I am not talking just about history. I am talking in general, what is the difference between the exams that you have given earlier and the exam which you are preparing for?
So may I?
Yeah, please, Ali.
So apart from the subjects related to the engineering, for example, the subjects which contains numericals and problem solving aspects, apart from that, the theoretical subjects. So they are basically focused on how much you can learn and how much you can memorize and write them on the paper, and you can express that memorized thing, the memorized information. But UPSC is all about the applied knowledge. What you have learned, how you can apply it in the society for the betterment of the people as well as for the society.
Good. Yes. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mitesh.
How do you adapt the situation and carry on the time?
Okay. Good. See, whatever you have studied from your KG to your PG, वहाँ से लेके from KG till PG, what has been tested is your memory. Am I right? Right from schooling till even your masters, what they have tested is your memory. And when it comes to UPSC, they ask what you have understood. Both are different. UPSC is asking what you have understood out of that. They don't want to know whether you remember about Akbar or Jahangir or Aurangzeb. They don't care. But what you have understood out of their policies, that matters.
Yes, sir.
That is why even like for example, you don't know when Akbar's rule ended. Okay, you don't remember exact date. Ki, sir, it is in 1605. You don't remember 1605. And you know the policy or the change of the situation that happened after 1605. And if you are writing in your answer that during the first decade of the 17th century when Akbar's regime was over or when Akbar died, acceptable. You don't know exact date, doesn't matter. But you should have to tell what you have understood out of that. That is why UPSC is difficult, because since in our whole education system, someone was talking about education. In our whole education system, nowhere from schooling till your universities and colleges, nowhere anyone has asked you that how much you have understood. Even when you were like we were kids, even in our primary school, teacher said ये कल याद करके आना. No one said कि कल समझ के आना. So what we are habitual of? Memorizing. Till date, only your memorizing power has been tested. No one has tested your understanding. UPSC tests what? UPSC tests understanding. That is why UPSC is difficult. Because it is taking you out of, and it is demanding that you should move out of your comfort zone of memorizing things and express yourself in what you have understood out of that. So first thing first, you have to understand the examination. Okay. Now, out of many subjects, that are there in GS, we are talking about history. Now history is very, as many of you have said that sir, it is, we don't like it or we hate it or we are not comfortable with it. I'll ask you the same question after on 1st of September, let's say. 15 days. Okay, I'll be asking the same question. And show the blunt honesty that you have shown right now. That's why we don't like it. The reason is that you have just been flooded. You have just been bombarded with facts whenever it came to history, either at middle level or if you have studied it at your higher secondary level, at any point, what the teachers have done, that they have just bombarded with you with facts. They haven't told you the story. And unless and until you don't understand this thing, connection, how to establish that connection, what is the relevance of that, how a thing which is, how an event which was important will affect us today, or how that has affected, and today does not mean that our life, it's about country as a whole. This is the process of nation building. What shaped India of 1947? This is what we are going to study in history. What were those events what were those eras or time periods that have shaped what India was in 1947 at the eve of independence? And then we have the post-independence history part, where we will see how the skeleton that we have got from the colonial rule. We got a skeleton, we had nothing, we just had some, roughly drawn structures that they had given us, British gave us, and then we, built a nation over that. So this is what we are going to do here, that we are trying to understand, we will try to understand things are there. Now, if you will see the classification of history as such, as per your syllabus, so we have ancient history, then we have medieval, modern, world, and post-independence. So this is the classification of syllabus. No need to write. What we are going to do here is, I am not going in this sequence. I will not teach you starting from Indus Valley Civilization. No, I am not going to do that. I will start from modern. Remember one thing, वो नहीं है, हाँ, बाद में, अभी ये दे दूँ बाद में. I'm sorry. So, one thing you have to understand, for your prelims part, for your prelims perspective, ancient, medieval and modern are the things which are common, let's say, for your prelims and mains. On the other hand, world and post-independence history is only the syllabus of your mains part. Okay, questions don't come from here in prelims. So this is how you have to plan. Okay, I'll be starting from modern history. Okay, the reason to that is, I don't want that you should say, ki sir, better you should sleep. That is not the reason. The reason is that all the characters of modern history, it would be very easy for you to visualize. Because when I'll say Gandhi, you'll be able to understand, okay, Gandhiji was there, or Nehru was there, or let's say going back bit in time, I'll talk about British governors. So even if you don't know their face, at least you can imagine, okay, there was someone who with a long red gown with that old hat, So that is why this I'll be starting with modern. Don't worry, from where I'll start modern, it's my responsibility to end medieval out there. Okay, so we'll be going in this sequence. First we'll starting with modern, then after modern I'll move back to ancient and medieval. We'll take that in continuity, and then we'll move on to world and post-independence history. Now, first, one thing that also you have to take out of your perception, and you must be prejudiced with that UPSC is about reading huge things. No. Okay, before that, just one small test of not history. Then I have not started history yet. I'll tell you a sequence. Let's just listen here. Just next 5-10 minutes also. I'll tell you a sequence of numbers. All of you are engineers, and one is from commerce, and basic maths sabne padha hai. For that, the reasoning to that sequence, I know you came up with your own logic. You come up with your own logic that let's say my sequence is this. There is a pattern to the sequence. There's a pattern to the sequence. I have no. Now you tell, by telling any random sequence following the same logic, what you feel the logic is there. Yes. Ankur?
918. 3612.
3612. Okay. Yes. Shiva? So logic you are using is multiplying the number by 2.
Right, sir.
The logic is correct, but that's not the logic which I used. 3918. Okay. Your answer is correct, but what's the logic? Yes, Shiva?
3618 can also work.
Okay, but I'm asking about the logic. Sorry?
The even number, that is sequence will be 10, 12, 14.
Possible?
Sir, the sequence one multiplication of 2, 2 multiplication of 2, 2 multiplication of 4, that is the logic number.
Yes, sir. Sequence can be 16, 32, 64. That is multiplication of 2.
Okay. Ali? All of you are correct because you are okay. सबकी बात सही है. But that was not the logic I was looking for, and that is something what you have overlooked. You take any other apart from these even numbers. Let's say there is no even number case here. You take any random numbers other than even number. Hey sir, maths में आके, history में आके, logic में, I am not teaching you sequence, number sequence, no. What you overlooked, you take any random number, you speak any random number, which may follow this sequence. You know what you missed, and where UPSC will, and how UPSC, how you have to develop yourself, groom yourself for UPSC. What is thing you missed? All of you are correct, but all of you are wrong because you missed one fundamental thing. If I say sequence is 7, 9, 10, it is correct. If I say sequence is 11, 12, 13, it is correct. The first thing that you didn't observe is it is in increasing order. Because of your higher grades of learning, you just moved on to the higher, getting solutions which is from having certain. The first logic is it is in increasing order. This is how UPSC will trap you. If you want to get a rank, I'm not talking about selection. Selection is okay. If you want to get a rank, this is the fundamental level that you have to observe. First thing, this is very basic thing. It is in increasing order. If you have said sir 1, 2, 3, it is correct. Because we have gone through the higher level of advanced studies. What we always try to look for bigger things. UPSC is not about bigger things. If you want to get a rank, clear your fundamentals, rank guaranteed. Fundamentals. Then you build up whatever you want. I was searching if someone would have said sir it is like 2 then 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, वो भी सही हो जाता. But the first thing, the basic thing, it is in increasing order. And this is how you have to change your thought process when you are studying history or any other subject. Come down to the basics. Come down to the basics. Don't try कि okay, sir ने history बोला है. I am not here to make you historian. If you want to be an historian, then go and have MA history and write a good thesis over that. No. Our job, we'll study the fundamentals, we'll study the basics, we'll study only that part which is important for examination. Clear your examination, become a civil servant, that's it. And start a new chapter of your life. Don't think कि sir ने बोला है तो हम advanced book. No, nothing advanced required, sir. You are done with NCRTs, that's more than enough. But with an understanding. So 2 things are very important when you are preparing yourself for UPSC. 1, is you should have an understanding, and by understanding I mean that on everything you should have an opinion of your own. Not what I have said or not what you're reading in your newspapers or what an editor or a journalist is saying. No, we don't require that. We require people, UPSC requires people, those who have an opinion of their own. And first thing first is when you will reach to those basics, try to, don't look at things. Don't look at things, observe them. If you have observed it, and observe it from the very basic level. You know, if you will follow this approach, I can say within 6 months you will be a changed person. Because the last hurdle in this UPSC examination is what? Personality test. So it's not just about gaining knowledge. Whatever you will study in any subject, whether it's polity, whether it's geography or history or economy, science tech, that knowledge should be reflected in your personality. That is why the success ratio is low, because aspirants do not know how to transform that knowledge and how to reflect that knowledge in your personality. If you have seen any of the IAS or district collector, what is different? He will say, sir, attitude. From where that attitude is coming? That attitude is coming from because they are reflecting, their personality is reflecting the amount of knowledge and training they have. You are getting my point? So we'll be starting with modern history, and we'll be starting with modern history. And in modern history, basically, let's write here. Technically, every passing moment is a history. Am I right? Whatever happened on 15th August 2021 will be recorded in a history, maybe taught, let's say, 50 years later. Fine. But is like, I'm going to teach you a history of all roughly 5,000, 6,000 years. So, sir, how you can teach history of 5,000, 6,000 years in 40, 45 days? Not possible. Because if you'll take into account everything which is happening, it is impossible. Because if you will, this is what it means. We are not going high, something at height, something of importance. So we are not going to study those things, or rather we are not going to study every passing moment, rather we are going to study only those events, only those episodes which had that capability that they could affect the future. For example, the history that is in the popular culture is that Akbar married Jodha. ठीक है, that is whom there is no mention of whom Babur married, there is no mention of to whom Humayun married, there is no mention of to whom Aurangzeb married. Why? Because that was not significant. It is not marriage which is significant. It is the political discourse that will follow that marriage. That was important. That is why Akbar's marriage is important. Salim falling in love with Anarkali as told in Mughal-e-Azam, it is not at all important. Because that was not deciding the course or that was not deciding the future of a nation in building or a future of a great piece of land. So we study only those moments, only those parts which are having certain significance, or which have if I use a bit of Hindi, कि उन लम्हों को जिनमें वक्त को बदलने की ताकत थी. We study only those moments which had that capability that they could change era. Now, so this is what we are going to study. Now, modern history basically starts in general with advent of Europeans in India. Modern history starts with advent of Europeans in India. By the way, what is modernization?
Advancement of technology or way of in production of things.
Okay. What is modernization? अरे कुछ भी बोलो, गलत बोलो, it's okay, I don't care, I am not here to judge you. You should speak.
Present days are going to be, the development is going to be reducing the manpower as increasing the mind power as well as the machine power, not an human power.
Okay, you are saying modernization is that. Yes.
Transformation, sir, also one point. Transformation from rural economy to urban economy.
Okay, acceptable. Yes, Mitesh. Okay. I want that already are very limited people out here. When the physical classes used to exist in ancient times, when hundreds of students used to be here, I used to ask questions to everyone. I'm a bit more time taking faculty, but yes, I want that every one of you should be involved. Yes. Okay, one part accepted. Modernization is you're talking about technology or reducing the manpower and increasing the machine power, and later on you will say, sir, moving on to AI and robotics. Great. But what is then this modern world does that? Is this, or the definition of modernism or modernization, is it just restricted to that?
So modernization means, for me, the evolutionary process of thinking.
Okay. In what sense? Evolution of thinking. ठीक है. Yes, you can combine all of you have said. Is देखो, whenever I ask you a question, or whenever anyone asks you a question, or whenever you are attempting a question, don't forget the 2-4-8 sequence. That don't try, don't miss the fundamental, don't miss the basic, anything you have been asked. And once you started doing that, you'll definitely see. One thing you said is correct, that it is about moving on with the technology, or you give a more technical definition, that reducing the manpower, moving on to mechanics and all that. But there is one more element to that. Without doing all this, moving on along with technology, having knowledge of new technology, use of new technology, without compromising the cultural roots that one has. And cultural is not something which is bringing rationality into that. Okay, bringing with rationality. What is modernism? Unfortunately, in India, what we have done, that we have mixed this modernism or modernization with the term westernization. Problem is this. To some, westernization is modernization. So as I was talking about rationality, and as Woodrow Wilson, father of public administration, the one who separated the stream from public administration and political science, he said there is no harm in deriving the idea of sharpening a knife from a murderer without taking the idea of murder from that. This is rationality which has came from West. Getting what he said? He said there is no harm in just picking up the idea of sharpening a knife from the murderer without adopting or without borrowing the idea of murder from him. That's okay. That is rationality. Unfortunately, what we have done in our country since ages, I'm not talking about India of 2020 or India of last 20 years. No, I'm talking India as a whole. We saw West. And the West, which was portrayed to us first by the Westerners or the Europeans, those who have came and settled in India. Okay. Second, by those elite class who had the privilege, barring a few, of going to that part of the world and can coming and then showing, okay, this is West. From where we get this, first Europeans told us that this is West, and in that what we tried we try to copy them without copying the rationality. Just by one example, having wine is a culture. Having wine is a culture in West. India also had that, but that was very limited. And nowadays what you see, and the best example that the consumption of alcohol, or how we have adopted the culture of consumption of alcohol in our country, was very much visible when last year after lockdown, the first thing that was open was liquor shops, and we saw, and that was summer season. That was summer season. And people, I've seen the news, 50,000, 60,000, they have got bills of that size. Yes.
Some of the states are going to be only financial department running on the liquor finance.
That's the excise department is doing well in many of the states. Revenue is huge. Now what happens? Having wine or what are the different types of alcohol, it's not a culture of India. Indian culture is you morning ke time you just have that what they call I don't know what they call in your language, tadi jisse kehte hain. It is being taken from the trees, then it is allowed to ferment in throughout the day, and then it is served. That is what tribal people do, and that is what the native culture of this country was. But what we went on to, now the problem is, now that is a problem in India. Why? Because we have not taken up the idea, the rationality behind that. Tropic region mein hai, the Europe and America, mostly that region, and whatever West we know is broadly in the which region? Not tropic, temperate region. For them summer is like 20-22 degrees centigrade. Am I right?
Yes, sir. But mild winters.
And winters are severe. Winter, as you move up to the up on the latitude, winters become more severe. So in order to counter that winter, they have that alcohol as a part of their system so that they can keep themselves warm. This was the logic behind that. Why there is least alcohol consumption in Africa? Summer season, because we don't find traditionally alcohol as a part which is coming, wine or all of these things you'd say, it is coming from different parts of Europe. They have their origin. Now what we did, we opted that idea, having a glass of wine is a symbol of modernization. No sir. In a country where the hottest temperature is like 50 degrees centigrade, you will have wine, you will collapse. All of your science students, you know what alcohol, when alcohol is chemically it is broken, what it does. It's an exothermic reaction. It increases the heat. That is why alcoholism is a problem in India. Alcohol which originated from there is not a problem here. So when we are saying modernism, modernization, don't confuse it with westernization. It is different. It is different. Modernization, yes, going ahead with the technology, moving ahead with the what you call as machine power, but without compromising the roots. Our Germans, another thing that we have done is we have thought that English is now is a symbol of modernism. No, it is not. The best research comes from Germany. And initially, if you'll see that time period when early 20th century, if you will see the world of that time, if any journal has to be published, any research paper has to be published, it has to be in German. When J.C. Bose sent his research paper out there, first it was translated in German and then it was published. So they are not speaking English, they don't like speaking English, and one who is speaking English in the non-English speaking European countries, it is something which is considered, okay, you are doing some degraded thing. Because they respect their language is also a symbol of culture now. Culture is not just food, it's food, clothing, language, way of life, everything. So they have, that is why we call, okay, German is on the upper side. From those who are from mechanical and automobile engineering, they know what is the importance of German engineering. So what we did, we were talking about modern history. So what happened, how modern history starts in India? Modern history starts in India when Europeans came in and they conquered us. Now the question is, when a country is conquered, what were the circumstances that allowed someone who is coming from the other side of the continent, of the planet, to come here and conquer us? It's not just that, okay, 1498 Vasco da Gama came, he landed in Calicut and that opened up the ways. That is a different story. But whenever we say that a country is being conquered, like yesterday it happened, no? Taliban conquered the existing Afghan regime. Why? Why? Because the president was weak. Whenever someone is conquering another part of land, means the country which is being conquered is weak. And that is why it is important to understand the condition. Now we have to understand the condition of a country at the time, what happened that allowed these Europeans to come to India and settle down. Aren't we, weren't we so strong that we could have resisted them at the time of when they were coming? I'm sorry. What were the circumstances that made it very easy for the Britisher to come in and settle down in India? Sorry? Sir, you are in 1857, sir. I am talking about 1498. You know, fun fact, Europeans came before Mughals. Mughal rule started 1526. Vasco da Gama landed 1498.
For resources under our land.
Sorry?
Resources, mineral resources.
Okay, that is what it attracted them. What you are saying, mineral resources, or someone will say spices, someone will say textile, that is okay. These are the things that attracted them. If there is a rich person, okay, there is a rich person who is having a lot of gold at his home. Thieves know there is a lot of gold at his home. They are attracted, na? And if that is stolen, whose fault is that? The person who is the owner of that home, because he was not strong enough to resist them. We were conquered. We as a country were conquered. We were no doubt, we were having immense resources. We are talking about minerals, you're talking about spices, you're talking about a number of things. We were having that. That's true. But what were the circumstances? What were the circumstances that said that yes, this became the reasons, this became the causes of why European came to India, or why Europeans settled to India, or why they conquered us? That is what has happened now.
Sir?
Yes.
So lack of unity among the people?
That we will see. Okay, acceptable. Anything else?
Europeans wanted to bypass the Ottoman Empire, which was an impediment in their trade.
What you said is correct. They wanted to bypass the Ottoman Empire and everything is correct. What you're telling me is facts. I'm asking the reason. It's not about why they came to India. It's not that we were not having trade with the West in the past. We have traces of and we have evidences of that we have trade with the West since Indus Valley Civilization time. Trade was going on. It was not that the trade had started only after 1498. Trade was already existing. It's not, see, understand, I'm not talking about what were the features or what were the causes that why Britishers were attracted to India or why Europeans were attracted to India. That's a different question. The question is what were our internal circumstances that allowed कि okay चोरी कर लो.
There were a lot of centralized kind of ruling.
Okay.
A lot of internal disputes within the rulers.
Okay.
Within the kingdoms.
Okay.
And they lacked sightedness, and also our army was not as modernized as theirs.
Okay.
And this was a few weeks.
Okay. Now, ठीक है. A lot of theory you have told. See, if we see, there were 5 basic reasons that were the cause because of which India was like number 1. Now we are talking about India at the beginning of 18th century. And we are not talking about what was happening outside. We are talking about what was happening here. That allowed the Britisher to come in, or the Europeans to come in. First reason is decline of Mughals. First reason is decline of Mughals. So Mughal was a mighty empire, and no doubt it has reached its peak, especially in till 1707. So till 1707, we will say that yes, there was a mighty Mughal empire. Now why 1707? Because 1707 was the year when Aurangzeb died. And this is a very watershed event in the history of India. Why? Because after this we see the decline of Mughal empire. Later Mughal rulers, see, we call Akbar the emperor, we call Jahangir the emperor, or even Aurangzeb the emperor because of the amount of land that they ruled. But, and you can understand, like in general terms, after Aurangzeb, any ruler is remembered in very common common parlance as Bahadur Shah Zafar. Aurangzeb died in 1707. Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared as Mughal ruler in the revolt of 1857. That's a span of 150 years. What was happening to Mughal? Because there was no emperor there. There was no emperor. They were rulers. In 1803, a situation will come when the Mughal ruler will be just, reduced to just a mere pensioner of the British East India Company. So the first reason is the strong hold of the society, of the Mughals, which had resisted, which had checked the growth of Europeans in India for almost 2 centuries. 1498, Portuguese came in. From there, and for the next 100 years, it was only Portuguese. We will see when we will come to the advent of Europeans. So for the first 100 years, it was only Portuguese. And in 1600, East India Company was formed. So from 1600 to 1607. So for almost 2 centuries, so from 1498 to 1707, 205 years, the growth of Europeans was checked, and they were just restricted to be traders. Nothing more than that. They were not allowed to be the colonizers. They were not allowed to be the expansionists, because the head of the family, Mughals, they were strong. At WhatsApp University, you must have studied that Mughals have looted India. No, sir. For 200 years, they have stopped the looting, which actually caused the deterioration of a country. Just imagine if this weak rule was there in 1500s. If Mughals have not checked this, or they have not restricted these Europeans, the British, who have ruled us for 200 years, they would have ruled for 400 years. What is in the common or the popular culture that Mughal looted India. No, they have stopped that looting for 200 years. Who do a looting? One who comes, loots your resources, go away. Did Mughal went away somewhere? When they have stayed here, how they have looted us? It was the real enemy was British who has looted us. They came, they took our resources, they went away. Am I right? Or you will say one who has given you the architecture, the buildings. They are earning revenue for you even today. They have given something which is earning revenue for even today. You go to Taj Mahal, you go to Red Fort, you go to all those big places, historical places. What do you give? You buy a ticket, na? 20 rupees for Indians, 500 for foreigners. So how something which is still giving you revenue has looted you? No, that's don't fall in those traps which is happening in the general and common things. You are not common people. You are not common person who has came. If you have decided to be civil servant, you are no more a common man. You are the one who has to think differently. So first thing, and once you see when British started growing, Aurangzeb died, the stronghold went away, British started growing. Within 50 years, and you can understand the legacy, the stronghold that Mughals had over these British, that even for the next 50 years, it was Plassey. You will come to see the Plassey, Battle of Plassey 1757, where British will establish themselves as the rulers. 50 years even after the death of Aurangzeb, British could not, they started expansion and it took it 50 years to make their first stronghold in India. So the first reason. Now, second reason, so decline of Mughals. Later Mughals I'll teach you in the medieval history part, don't worry about that. Okay, so there's an overlapping part of the history. One part is after 1707, what was happening in India, one thing is there. Second is, who were the Mughal rulers. So that way we will study in the sequence of Mughal Empire only. Okay, now second cause of this is Indian states and society. Now what happened? First thing, it was not that simple that Aurangzeb died and all of a sudden Mughal Empire was in bits and pieces. No. After death of Aurangzeb, now that is why I have told 1707 is a very watershed year in the history of India. What happened? That this decline of Mughal Empire, actually this second cause is basically related to it's derived from the first cause only, that this decline of Mughals actually led to rise of a large number of powers, especially like Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Karnataka, Mysore. These were the small powers which were once a part of the mighty Mughal Empire. Now they started to grow up after 1707. Okay, first thing, Mughals gone. Mughals are not gone, but their presence is not remarkable, or their presence is not something which could be identified. And these states, small states emerged. Bengal, Awadh, Marathas also emerged. Jats also emerged in the northern, this part, Delhi part. And a situation came when Mughal Empire, the actual hold of the real Mughal Empire was just restricted to few kilometers of Delhi. Okay, so this. Now what happened because of this states emerging? There was a severe decentralization of power. Now these states can be categorized into two. One states, especially like Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh, these were the states which were like succession states, means which have carved themselves out of Mughal Empire only. And they have said that we will be ruling ourselves independently, or what we will be giving you is a part of revenue. They said, so don't interfere. Let's say Awadh said to the Mughals, or Delhi that don't interfere in my ruling. I'll be ruling this. Because why we are calling that succession states? Because these were the people, those who carved out this state. Like we're talking about Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah or Murshid Quli Khan, who founded the state of Bengal. These were the people who were actually the Mughal commanders or deputy governors or governors of that region. Once they found that yes, now the head of the family is gone, Aurangzeb is gone, we have got an opportunity, and these people, the later Mughals, they are fighting among themselves. Let us carve out a new state. And they said, about what about our authority? They said, okay, we will be giving you part of revenue, you be happy with that, but don't interfere in the administration. So that is why these were like the succession states. On the other hand, if you see states like Afghan, Maratha, Jat, or all these kind of states, these were the states which were also segregated from the Mughal Empire only. But these were the results of rebellion. Note it down in this in Indian states and society. The weakening of Mughal Empire, be fast. The weakening of Mughal Empire led to the rise of large number of independent. The weakening of Mughal Empire led to the rise of large number of independent and semi-independent powers. Independent and semi-independent powers such as Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore and Maratha kingdoms. Mysore and Maratha kingdoms. Full stop. Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad. Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad may be characterized as the succession states. May be characterized as the succession states. On the other hand, states like Maratha, Afghan, Jat, Punjab, etc. दूध वाली मत दीजिएगा. States like Maratha, Afghan, Jat, Punjab, etc. were the product of rebellions. Were the product of rebellions of local chiefs, zamindars, commanders. Rebellions of local chief, zamindars, commanders, etc. against the Mughal authority. Against the Mughal authority. Clear? How the various states or various, at the end of in 1947, and when I'll tell you about the post-independence history, first thing first that we'll study will be the integration of the princely states. So how a nation, how the Mughal Empire, okay, we can start that when Britishers started to conquer India, there was a Mughal Empire. Which was from Kabul to Kanyakumari, almost Madurai, Mysore, it was under the Mughal rule. If you will see the largest extent of Mughal Empire, it was during Aurangzeb's time period. So from Kabul to south in Mysore, it was all under India, let's say. And when India got independence in 1947, apart from British provinces, there were 562 princely states. how this has happened. So the process of getting into those princely states started from here, when these states started to separate themselves from the Mughals. First thing. But there was a problem in this transition, because now you'll say, sir, this is not a problem. Because what our question is, we are looking to the answer to the question that what happened, what were the circumstances, or what were the causes that led to that, why we were weak. So this was not the reason. The main reason to that was that the political and the administrative framework that these newly formed states have adopted was faulty. You're getting my point? The political and administrative framework, what they have adopted was very much similar to that of what was existing in the Mughal time period. So they have exactly copied that. First fault. So what they have done, they have copied what was happening in the Mughal Empire. No doubt, the later half of the Mughal Empire, especially in the second half of the 17th century and the beginning of 18th century, was radicalized, was corrupt, and there was too much power. And you can understand that these Jagirdars and Zamindars rose to power. Now, these newly formed states, they realize that if too much centralization is done, it is possible that there can be further disintegration, or there can be further division or bifurcation of these newly formed states. So what they did is, to those zamindars or jagirdars or military commanders, let's take example of Awadh. Awadh means this region of eastern UP, parts of eastern UP, Lucknow and that region, up to Allahabad, Kara, and this whole region fall under Awadh. So they realized that, okay, we have separated ourselves, or we have declared ourselves independent from Mughals. It is possible that if we don't give good autonomy at our lower level, it is possible that new more principalities can come out from this Awadh state. So in order to stop that disintegration, what they did was they went for further decentralization. Now what was happening, though that was Awadh, but small people have rose to power and at this point of time, more power, more economic and political power was with the zamindars or the jagirdars who existed at that point of time. Means the real power was in the hand of a jagirdar somewhere in Lucknow, then the overall power, the Nawab of Awadh. And because of this, the economic crisis. Now India was facing an economic crisis, especially during the time period of Shah Jahan, because all of his architectural marvels. So the amount that he spent on building all those great buildings, constructing those great buildings, was huge, and that triggered an economic crisis, which was started somewhere in 1650s. An economic crisis starts in India, and another thing, after him came Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was more interested in Deccan. So when he was more interested in Deccan, what happened that he also mobilized all his resources towards conquest of Deccan. Economic crisis deteriorated further. And after his death, this decentralization was, it further deteriorated the economic crisis, or rather I'll say that none of them was successful in curbing those economic crises which triggered in 1650s. So can an economically weak person can be called as someone who can conquer someone? See, if you see the medieval and the ancient world, you will find that land was the symbol of prosperity. From medieval Europe till date, you will see that, okay, there are a lot of events. You see that conquest of land was going on, because that point of time land and to conquer land, what you need was good army. So that was the symbol of strength of any country. in modern days the situation shifted. In modern days, it is not the area or the land that you occupy that marks your your strength or your position in the world. Rather, it is your economic position. If we go by the rule that existed in the ancient times, then Russia would have been the largest and the most strong country today. But if I'll ask you, who is more stronger, Japan or Russia? Japan, because nowadays size of land is not the question when it comes to identifying strength. It is the economy. No one asks how big army you have. What is our dream? To make India a $5 trillion economy. We are not saying that we will occupy Pakistan and from here we will occupy Nepal and will become stronger. We are not saying that. We are saying that we will have a $5 trillion economy and we will be strong. Because in modern days, economy is that scale of power. And and this is obviously at the start of modern history or modern India. At that point of time, if India was going through an economic crisis, it was fragile. It was very easy for for Europeans especially to come in and conquer India. So these states, further decline of Mughal Empire leading to further disintegration into smaller states in order to have their control or in order to curb the further rebellion or succession. What they did, they went for severe decentralization, and this severe decentralization could not stop the economic crisis which has triggered in the later half of the 17th century. Note it down. The overall political and administrative framework was very similar. The overall political and administrative framework was very similar in all of them. All of them means the states that we have listed above, both the categories. The overall political and administrative framework was very similar in all of them, as they adopted methods and spirits of Mughal administration. As they adopted methods and spirits of Mughal administration. Full stop. In general, there was decentralization of political authority. In general, there was decentralization of political authority. With chief plurality. Jagirdars, zamindars, with chiefs, jagirdars, zamindars, etc. Gaining economic and political power. Gaining economic and political power. Full stop. None of them were successful in arresting the economic crisis. None of them were successful in arresting the economic crisis. Which had set during 17th century. So now you got Indian states and society, the second reason or the second cause that why the situation of India which was weak during the beginning or at the advent of Europeans. Now the third. Is the social and the economic condition of people. the social and the economic condition of the people. See, it is very unfortunate to say that, no doubt, India was having a great economy till 17th century, and as I told you that in the second half of the 17th century there was an economic crisis. Unfortunately, the 18th century India in itself failed to make any economic or social or to be very wrong to say that a cultural progress. There was nothing like that. You are saying, like, we have seen a cultural progression also, no? Is India of 1947 and 75 years after independence, we are like running in the 75th year of independence, is that they are culturally same? No? The culture is very different now. Now the culture is, or the culture that we say is restricted to the rituals in the marriage, at the time of birth, only that few things on few festivals, that still we follow those things. But now if you will see, we have completely transformed as ourselves as culturally as a society. So if you see now, see, to understand history there are two ways. There are two ways to see something. One is you sit in 2021, you observe what was happening in 18th century, and you judge with this perspective whether it was right or wrong. Or you yourself go to 18th century and see what was happening around, and then you judge whether it was right or wrong. So it is very easy sometimes, because in common culture this is now happening, that if something is not going right today, criticize the past for it. This is happening. If something is not happening good today, if we are having an economic crisis today, let us blame someone who has done something different in the past. No sir, that's wrong. You can't judge past by sitting in today. If you have to judge, then you have to see those situations in which, like 18th century, NCERT says, whatever I am saying is referring to the NCERT, I am referring to that book only. NCERT, it is written that the 18th century India failed to make any cultural or social or economic progress, but the question is why that happened. You can only judge whether it was right or wrong only after you see the circumstances surrounding that. Because everything is relative in nature, nothing is absolute. You are rich or poor, you may be rich, you may be poor, depending on the comparison to whom you are doing it. If I compare even myself to Jeff Bezos, I will say, okay, I am like a poor person. But if you make a comparison to someone who is earning 100 or 200 rupees or a Manrega person, you are super rich, sir. So if you are saying that something was wrong in past, then justify why it was wrong. It was wrong because it was not the right time to take that decision, or you just feel sitting in present having all the resources, all the amenities and saying, oh, they were wrong. No. So if we see the social and economic condition of the country at that, or the people at that point of time, the question is why the India of 18th century could not do anything or could not make any social or cultural progress, because of increasing demand of revenue from the officials, because of the corruption or the oppression from the officials, because of the greed and the rapacity of the nobles, because these were the elite class at that point of time. No, elite is always in minority, and if minority, not the minority but the people who are less in number, if the minority of a society, not the religious minority or the linguistic minority, I am talking in terms of the access to the financial resources they have. And if it is in the mode of greed, nobles, zamindars, revenue officials, they were having just one aim: extract as much as you can from these peasants. And if you see the country at the beginning of 18th century, you will find that an extreme contrast existed. We had the super rich and we had the super poor. There was no middle class. Either they were nobles or revenue officials or the zamindars, or they were peasants or small traders. And the difference, the economic difference or the financial difference between these two classes was huge. So 18th century India, huge contrast. Huge contrast. The main occupation of the people at that point of time also was agriculture. Agriculture of 18th century was backward, not technologically sound, and stagnant. Agriculture, which was the main occupation, which was the main source of land revenue, which was the main source of income for all those kingdoms and nawabs and nizams and everyone, it was backward because it was stagnant. It was not something which everyone can do. The issue, one thing was there, that land was enough. There was ample land, but the problem was that, and even I'll say the farmers of 18th century did a miracle. That despite of such a great oppression and greed and corruption, they produced enough that India was almost self-sufficient in case of food. That was their miracle. They were hard-working people. And despite of technological backwardness, their production was high. But unfortunately, the people who were sitting above them in this social structure, what they did was, they tried to extract as much as they can. Whether let it be Jagirdar, Zamindar, or the revenue official, or the nobles, or the military chief, everyone tried to extract that, okay, let us loot. Actually, loot is a word which is of Indian origin, but now it's an English word. It's there in the standard Oxford dictionary. And unfortunately, this mindset of extracting maximum from the real tiller of the soil, the farmer, the peasant, not peasant now, in modern days is the farmer, has actually crossed the timelines, and it still exists in you and me. For example, Ali, you are from Mumbai, I guess.
Yes, sir.
And you must be very familiar with the mall culture.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever shopped in a mall?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever bargained there?
No, sir.
Okay. Ankur, you are from Meerut?
Yes.
And mostly in that part of city, the culture is more like going to the vegetable market and having the vegetables. Have you done that?
Yes, sir.
Even in Nagpur, you told you were living in Nagpur also. Everyone has gone through both the phases. We have seen both the sides. We have purchased vegetable from a vegetable market, and we have also shopped in a mall. Where do you bargain?
In the markets.
Why not in the malls? Are they selling something different?
No, sir.
But when we purchase something from a farmer, we try to bargain as much as we can. Am I right?
Yes.
From where this idea, or from where this perception has penetrated, that yes, if he's a farmer, let us bargain him to his maximum extent. This is that feudal mindset. That is that feudal mindset that has crossed generations, that has crossed ages, and it still exists. मॉल में सब्जी खरीदने जाते हो, क्यों बार्गेन नहीं करते हो? प्राइस फिक्स है, तो फिर किसान का प्राइस भी फिक्स होना चाहिए. And if you are bargaining the real tiller of the soil, the one who has actually cultivated that, then bargain with those people also, those capitalist corporates. We don't know, because that doesn't go with the status. That doesn't go with the pseudo definition of modernization or westernization that we have created for ourselves. Interesting, huh? Shiva is very happy. What happened?
Because of they created one of the some type of culture in surrounding of the shopping malls. They will not give any chance to speak with by us. They will only display the goods, whatever you have, you can take, otherwise you can go outside. They will say by the goods only. They will not give any chance to ask to the customer. But the actually farmer will give the chance to take the product from themselves, at least reasonable price they will offer to farmer price. But the corporates will not give that much of chance to the customer.
I can give you one example, one more basic example. You have to never ask for a carry bag to a farmer or to a vegetable seller. वो free में देता है. And you go to the mall, sir, would you like to have a carry bag? Yes, then charge 7 rupees extra, and on that they will write there is no planet B. This might, I'm telling you, this exploitation of farmer or the farming community has, and this mindset has crossed generations. The potato chips, you take that thing. How much it is? 10 rupees or 20,
5 rupees.
5 rupees, 10 rupees, 20 rupees. How much you are getting?
Less than 100 grams.
100 grams in 5 rupees? Arre nahi.
Less than that. Less than that.
Roughly 100 grams is like 20-25 rupees. So what's the per kg cost of that?
It goes to near 300.
200 to 300 rupees. You are happy because that holding that chip packet, in your hand and roaming around and having that potato chip is something you are liking it. Goes with that definition of modern and Western thing that you have created. We have created. It's not just about you as an individual. It's about, I'm talking about society as a whole, especially the urban society. Okay, and do you have any idea how much a farmer is getting? What is the share of farmer in that? Let's say you are purchasing something which is 300 rupees a kg from a farmer. How much he is selling?
He will get below 20 rupees. Per kg he will get only 20 rupees.
Per kg he will hardly get 2 rupees.
Below 20 rupees.
अरे सर 2 rupees, कहाँ 20 rupees जा रहे हो? 2 rupees. This is why you're talking about agriculture community in the beginning. This is the problem, that the share of Indian farmer in the final consumer price is very less. That is the real problem of misery of farmer. We need solutions where we can increase the share of farmer in that 300 rupees. You're getting my point? So, but this exploitation is coming, and you won't believe, though we are saying that culturally and socially India was very much stagnant at that point of time, but overall India was a self-sufficient country. Our export, our balance of trade was actually positive in 18th century because our villages were self-sufficient. Our demands were low. We were not having great demands of foreign goods. Whatever the village was cultivating in itself, it was very much happy with that. and the real trade of luxurious or higher end things was going on at the top. For like and the situation was that India was exporting more and importing less. It was not that we were not importing, we were also importing. We were importing tea, sugar, silk, dates, wool. There's a long list. But overall our export was more, import was less. And then also the situation of the economic situation was miserable. Another thing, another aspect is education. Another aspect is education. What was the situation of education? Sir, you are wrong. We can't say there was illiteracy. If India was illiterate, then you could not have the great treasure of from Vedas to Upanishads to the ancient classic Sangam literature. We were not illiterate. The problem was, yes.
But compared to present, past is a well understandable and well knowledgeable people.
You don't have to compare with present. You have to compare with the contemporary, what was happening at that point of time only. How you can say that? Being an engineer, you are saying that people who are having no knowledge of AI were intelligent. Come on.
No, sir. I am not speaking with the knowledge of the people. They are not able to develop the equal on every sector. Education means we need to develop with all sectors simultaneously without any fluctuation. But present education is going to be only developing from particular sector only technological, economical way, not in a remaining environmental way and economic way, as well as the food sector, education sector. But past education is going to be maintaining the all sectors in balanced way in the balanced sector. There is that much of level. Present that much of education is not giving the present education system.
So, okay. Somewhat, see, because in earlier or the difference is they were talking about understanding, na? They were talking about reasoning, they were talking about logic. We are not talking about logic. Sorry, we are not talking about logic. What is the value of pi?
3.14.
How that we have arrived to that point? You are all, and majority of your engineers here, I am asking that how you arrived to the value of pi. This is the difference in the education today, that we have lost that ability to question. Everyone knows it's 22/7. Everyone knows 3.414, or some more intelligent people can go up to 10 or 20, or someone can go up to 100 places of decimals. Am I right? But we never asked. Even I didn't ask. It's not that I have asked, no. This is something, obviously, when you start reading and when you start gaining good literature, when you read good literature, when you read good content, when you read good people, then you realize that what mistake has been deliberately being made by us. We were forced to make that mistake, that don't ask questions. Engineers are here and you have spent majority of your academics in going on with calculating the value of pi, with playing with the value of pi. Have you ever gave a thought how we came to this, why this is 3.414 or 141, 3.41, yes, 14, sorry. No. So this is one difference, but the problem with the education system in the 18th century was that it was defective in the sense that it was talking about literature, it was talking about religious studies, it was talking about because you can observe when I'll tell you ancient history, there we will see that lots and lots of things are like what they call as Mahakavyas are there, what they call as epics have been written, but there is a very lesser research. Some research of maths, science has been done earlier, but especially if you see India of 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 17th, 18th century, the touch with the science and like things like geography is zero. So the problem with the education system that existed in 18th century was that it was just talking about few limited things, especially literature, arts, humanities. They were not talking about science or geography or mathematics, because they were not in touch with the West. Or rather, they were untouched with the rapid development of science and maths which was happening in West at that point of time. Because West was Renaissance. If you see West, it was their awakening time. Likewise, I'm not sure about the exact year, but it was somewhere in 1640s that Harvard College was established. 1640s, maybe 1630s. I'm not sure about date, but that was the time period. And when Taj Mahal was built up, in the 17th century, Taj Mahal was there at the time of I think it was 1748. The Taj Mahal was completed. 1748 or 50? No, 48 it started. 50s. 1653. I'm sorry, 1653. Because 1658 Aurangzeb was there. Yes, 1653 was the time period roughly when Taj Mahal was completed. So this was the difference. What the West was talking about? Harvard College. They were establishing colleges and universities, and we were making Taj Mahals. And this is where the difference in education was clearly visible. This is where we say that yes, we were not having any touch with the West. We were not having any touch with the philosophical development, or what Ali said in the beginning, that modernization is the evolution of thinking process or the evolution of thought. That was not happening. And it is very easy to acquire. Yes, Shwetanshu.
Can you say that the people around that, or the literature around that period, or the education was mainly focused on the king and the families of king, and we were more focused on the monuments making, and rather than we were like glorifying our status.
Yeah.
Rather than developing in field of like we can say education.
Yes, that is what, no, when you are saying literature, and literature, obviously, literature is always focused on praising someone at that point of time. We find good literature, whether it is Padmavat, written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi, or if you will see Ain-e-Akbari, or you will see Babarnama, or you will see Humayunama, or you will see Tuzke-Babri, the major literature of that point of time was praising. It was not giving some what the literature should have done is to reflect the society. If you will, anyone from Hindi literature, they will know better that which is having Abhigyan Shakuntalam has a very good place in Hindi literature, or Malvika Agnimitram has a very good place in Hindi literature, because about depicting the reality. But here you will see your point is very much true. Even though that was the time period, you see development of Urdu as a language. But then also development of Urdu as a language was not Urdu as a language to depict philosophy of life. The first Urdu philosopher, I'll say, Allama Iqbal. Mirza Ghalib, you can say, but he was also a courtier in the poet in the Mughal court. But one who actually has depicted philosophy of life in Urdu was Iqbal, who came later in 20th century. There were very few people, there were very few who were talking about these things. So that is why we were restricted. Okay, so this was the situation of education. And the final difference here. Social and cultural life. Because, you know, some of you must be saying that sir ne abhi tak ek date nahi batai. He is teaching history and I am not talking about dates. You have to understand. And once you understand articulating things in this manner, anyone feeling sleepy, let me know. Do teen baar Shiva ne, you know, you change your stance. Ankur also went for, and I think once you change your stance, that's okay. See,
My battery was getting.
that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just kidding. Don't take it. If you're not understanding anything today, doesn't matter. But if you're not understanding anything after 10 classes, not 10 days, 10 effective classes, that is 25 hours. We have a 2.5 hour class, so roughly 25 hours. If you're not getting anything, that's my fault. So give me that much time. Okay. If you felt any doubt till whatever I have told you today, then I'll come to the last point.
No, sir, everything was fine. Really good.
If you have, see, don't hesitate in asking questions, because I have, this is what I have evolved as a teacher, that I don't restrict questions. You can ask as much as questions you can. First. Second thing, the foremost requirement of being an UPSC aspirant is this. Patience. This is the first requirement of being a UPSC aspirant. Why? You are starting today. That's 2021. Right? You will give exam on, let's say there is no third wave. Let's pray to the Almighty, if you're not an atheist, that there is no third wave. Things are getting normal. Let things get normal. So you will be having your exam on 16th of June, 5th of June, I'm sorry. 5th of June, you will be having your prelims on 5th of June. Then you will be having your mains on 16th of September next year. And then you will be having your interview in February, March 2023, and you will get your result in May 2023. Means what? Patience. It requires huge determination. Motivate. Actually, this is nothing but a self-motivation which will make you patient, which will make you wait for the result, which will make you work hard. Now, primary motivation is your dream. And if I tell you a reality, लोगों को IAS सिर्फ 2 वजह से बनना होता है. वो जो देश, that nation service and everything comes basically after coming into the service. And I really appreciate Shwetanshu for that, because he gave one reason, that sir, I want respect. That's a respectable job. So either you either you go for respect or you go for power. These are only two things, because whatever you have said you want to achieve is not possible without power. So there are only two reasons why people go to civil services. One is respect, another is power. And with great powers come great responsibilities. Spider-Man में कहा है. तो no doubt. और तीसरा है पैसा. Don't go for the, मतलब that is your choice. That is your choice. पैसा भी तो है ना. अब that is your choice कि आप उसे कैसे कमाते हो. Yes, Ali.
If someone has a motivation to earn money through this place, and the motivation doesn't last for a you have to have patience for that. It just lasts for a few weeks and months. Someone has the motivation of that kind for earning money.
Now, earning money, how that matters? Earning money through legitimate means or taking 200-300 करोड़ रुपए लेके जो है set. Yes, Shwetanshu?
One is
My father always used to say me that पैसा कमाना है तो वो तो किसी भी जगह से कमाया जा सकता है. It's not about getting a job or starting to become a civil servant. It's a compulsory. You can earn by doing business. You can earn doing private job. But earning respect and with a power is which you will be getting with the civil servant only. Because पैसा कमाना is the second prospect in life rather than earning respect. Is first prospect.
And some very learned person has told me that paisa is a byproduct of power.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Without power, we can't able to get money out. It's simultaneously.
They exist in they exist simultaneously. Yes, that's true. But Ali was talking about motivation because and it is very important to have motivation while you are in this span of 2 years. I am not talking about just today. I am not just talking about till prelims. I am talking till you get your result of interview. First thing first is optimistic. Being optimistic. If you have lost faith in yourself, how can I trust you if you don't trust yourself? Sorry. How can I trust you? Secondly, अब वो मोटिवेशन कैसे आएगा? दैट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट. अब मोटिवेशन फर्स्ट इज योर ड्रीम, दैट हाउ बैडली यू आर चेजिंग योर ड्रीम. एंड आई एम श्योर दैट आफ्टर रनिंग फ्यू माइल्स यू स्टार्टेड टू गेट टायर्ड, यू स्टार्टेड टू गेट डेविएटेड, कि वो 3-4 महीने की बात है. If your dream, if the desire and the urge to chase your dream is not motivating you, second is your parents or your loved ones, or those who have shown trust in you. Parents, teachers, people who you love, or those who love you rather. And then think about them. So if you're not motivated by your dream, just have a pause in life, think, sit down, but throw all your thoughts away, think about your parents or those who have shown trust in you, how happy they would be. And even if and a point will come, and that will definitely come. A point will come when even these things will not be able to motivate you. Then the third level of motivation, and that's very good. Think of the people whom you hate, or rather who hates you. How happy they would be seeing you as an unsuccessful person. How happy those people who have mocked you when you said that I am preparing for UPSC, I am thinking to prepare for UPSC. तुमसे नहीं होगा. There is a section in our society who is always criticizing, who is waiting for your failure so that they can actually criticize you or they can make fun of you. Think about them. How happy, what they would be feeling when you are unsuccessful. So when love does not motivate you, when dream does not motivate you, it's the revenge that can motivate you. And keep on moving on this cycle. So first is dream, then is love, then is revenge. When revenge is over, वो अब 3 चीज़ भी motivate नहीं कर पाएगी तो फिर you have to, ऐसा नहीं है that you need it daily. It's a dose which is required every 3-4 months. अब आज जब तक अच्छा पढ़ा रहे हैं, जब तक क्लासेस चल रही हैं, everyone is motivated. सर कुछ ना कुछ कहानी तो रोज ले ही आएंगे. But after that what will happen? फिर वो and that injection, that vaccine will have its effect for 3-4 months only. If I'll give you an injection of motivation today, that will have its effect for like next 3-4 months. After that you need something else. So unless and until till the time I am teaching, definitely you will be getting these doses every now and then, so that you can keep yourself motivated. And remember, no one can stop you. The only thing required is that you should trust yourself. That's it. Set aside everything that is like a hurdle on your, in chasing your dream of being a civil servant. Keep aside everything you feel. Okay, this you feel is something which is hurdling. Even your pen, you feel that, okay, I'm not able to write smoothly with this pen, and this may have, this may affect my, my journey of chasing my dream. Keep aside that pen. Mobile phone, keep aside mobile phone. Anything, this 2 things you should never compromise. One is the time that you have decided for your studies. Don't compromise with that. For example, if you have decided that, sir, I'll be studying like 10 hours a day, then make sure it is 10.5 hours a day. And you should settle no less than 10 hours at any cost. Everyone has, someone will ask me, sir, how much I should study? How can I tell you? It's you who has to study. This is the syllabus. Keep on studying, keep on reading until you have completed the syllabus. Unless and until you are, it's not 16 hours, it's not 24 hours. How you can quantify this hard work? It is not necessary that you should study for 24 hours, but it is very much important that you should be in that environment of, learning. Be in that environment of understanding for your next rest of your life. Not just today, not just this week, the rest of your life. Fine. So, coming to the last point, that is social and cultural life. First of all, the diversity has been the characteristic of a country since ages, and that existed at 18th century also. Our country, there was no uniformity. There was no uniformity in the country. There were different and diverse social and cultural patterns that existed throughout the country. Okay. But there was one thing which was common or central to all. The caste system. Whatever may be the social or cultural framework of any society at any area or of any region, the center to that was caste system. Because it was this caste system that permanently fixed the position of people, the position of the people in the society, because they considered society is like a fabric. Society is like a stack, at that point of time. So where a person will fall, and that wherever he fell in that social structure, that position was kept permanent. So this was the importance of, if you say caste, they were divided on the lines of religion. 2 major religions before the advent of Europeans were Hindus and Muslims. They were living together. Nothing like communalism existed, because Hindu society or Hindu culture had their own set of systems, set of rules, the varnas, the caste and so on. Muslims have their own. Only period of radicalization that we see, or only the non-secular mode of India that we see, is in the second half of 17th century, where we see some sort of radicalization. Prior to that, there was nothing. Obviously, you can imagine someone marrying a Mughal marrying a Hindu Rajput way back in 15th, 16th century. Means India was not a caste-ridden, religiously communal society. Just a moment, please. Okay, sorry. What I was saying?
regarding the caste.
Yeah. So we were talking about the social structure. So Hindus and Muslims existed, and rather they coexisted, because it was not the question of tolerance at that point of time, because it was acceptance at that point of time. See, when different societies, when different cultures, different religions, they are living in a country like ours. Nowadays we say, okay, one should be tolerant, and tolerance and intolerance. We talk about this a lot, but the word is wrong. It should be acceptance. When you're saying tolerance, means even you don't like that, even you don't even if you're not comfortable with that, you are allowing that to happen. That is what tolerance is. Rather, when the societies, when different religions needs to coexist in a society, acceptance should be the real phenomena. And if you see India of 15th, 16th and the first half of 17th century, there was acceptance. Leave tolerance, there was acceptance. No one termed that as love jihad. Akbar married a Hindu Rajput. Rather, it was a welcomed step, considered to be a welcomed step throughout the history.
Yes, sir. But this happened recently when Tina Dabi married Antarami. It was termed as love jihad.
See, that is a different perspective. I don't want to discuss what is happening today. Let us enjoy the history. At least you can have some good time enjoying that. Yes, India was good, and India is good. It's just about making right choices at the right time. India was radicalized. I'm not saying that India was radicalized just few years back. No, India was radicalized. The radicalization started, and you know, there is a difference, and this is where the role of teacher comes in. Because when Akbar asked his teacher, his ustad, what is kafir? He said, one who does not believe in existence of God. And this is what, when you say word kafir, it means this, that one who does not believe in existence of God in any form. So he was tolerant. When Aurangzeb asked his teacher that kafir, he said Hindus. And this is where the ideology is depart. So one who is learning, one who is guiding you, one who is learning, that at that point it is very important to understand what that person's perspective is. That is why when we are preparing for UPSC, or what is preferable, to read NCRTs. Because any other historian or any other person, especially who has written the book, may have a different perspective, which may or may not be agreeing with what stand you. Now, this is a government publication. NCRT is published by the government, so their stand is clear. That is valid. But sometimes when you study, like for example, Kashmir. When you study about Kashmir, if you read a book on Kashmir by a Kashmiri, you'll find a different perspective of the same thing. You read a book written by an Indian on this side. He has an Indian historian, Indian author. He has a different perspective. If some Pakistani is writing on Kashmir, he's having a different perspective on the same thing. So that is why for preparing UPSC, it is preferable to have NCRTs as the main source. And understanding NCRT is very difficult, because it is refined and refined and refined many times. That based on that, many authors have written their own book. So first book, for modern history, first book that you should have today as the most handy thing is Modern History by Bipin Chandra. Okay? अभी मत दूसरी चीज़ों के ट्रैप में मत फंसना. Just one book, old NCRT, Bipin Chandra, Modern History. जब when we'll be talking about medieval and ancient, there I'll tell you books about them. Right now, just have this much that you can have. PDF is available. It's not a costly book. Hardly 110-120 rupees is the cost of that book. You can get online also. So Bipin Chandra, Modern History. That is book you have to get right now. So we were talking about society. So Hindu society was caste, predominantly caste was the central feature of the Hindu society. But if you talk about, ऐसा नहीं है Muslims में caste नहीं था, or there was no stratification of Muslims at that point of time. Even they had this. They had three categories. One was known as Sharif Muslims, means the nobles. The nobles, basically the Afghani Muslims, or those Turkis or Irani and Persians, those. And there was one more classification who was known as Ajlaf Muslims. One was Sharif, means the nobles, the nobility, the elite class of Muslims. Basically, who claim to be the original Muslims who have came from the Central Asia and that region. Another was Ajlaf Muslims, basically the Indian Muslims. And there was another category to that, to those Muslims who have actually converted, especially the lower caste Hindus who were not getting their position, respectful position in the society. What they did, they found, okay, Muslims have came and they have no caste system, they converted. But the problem happened there also, because most of the times, especially in this time period, the caste, it was linked to profession. So if a barber has converted, a Hindu barber is converted to Muslim, he was not allowed to do anything, or he was not allowed to opt for any other profession. So that caste system, so basically for the reason for which they have converted, it still remained the same. So this was the situation of society. Family was mainly patriarchal, male dominated family, everything, the what they call as the alpha male. And that alpha male who used to take all the decisions. Suppression of women was very common. The condition of women was miserable when it comes to basic human rights in India of 18th century, except in Kerala. Except in Kerala, where the society or the formation was matrilineal. Except Kerala. Rest of the country it was patriarchal, but in Kerala it was matrilineal. Now, clear? Any doubt? Any doubt?
Sir, you were talking about Kerala, but there was one, I heard about that breast tax to lower caste Hindus very more.
आगे आएगा, वो अभी नहीं है. That will come. That what you are talking is the end of 18th century and the beginning of 19th century. But that doesn't mean that the society was not having that caste system. It was. Okay. The family system was matrilineal, but castes existed. Lower caste, upper caste existed. The upper class, like education, was mostly restricted to the upper class. शूद्र का बच्चा नहीं पढ़ सकता था. That was true. It was only Brahman, Kshatriyas who were allowed to have access to education. Very rare instances when people from the lower castes have that access to education. Okay, so if the question comes that describe the situation of India in the beginning of 18th century, now is that part clear to all? Any doubt, any question? Yes, Mitesh.
No, sir, no doubt.
No doubt. Now, if you have no doubt, then there are only two possibilities. Either you have understood everything, and I am a great teacher, or else सब ऊपर से चला गया. What's the case? Hope you have understood everything.
Yes.
Allow the things. अच्छा एक बात बताओ. जब no, when you gardening की है, anyone has done gardening or seen agriculture field or anything. When you water the field or water the plant, immediately पानी absorb हो जाता है. When you water the plant, immediately it is reflected, or when you give nutrients or when you give fertilizers or otherwise to the plants, is it something that which happens immediately?
No, sir, it is one of the process to take step by step level.
Yeah. So it is same thing what is happening with you. Right now I am giving you those nutrients and water. Allow them to absorb. Don't rush into things. Allow them to absorb, so that after a few days or few time when you have absorbed it. Now what you will do, if you are having that book of NCERT, you will study. Just have a read of the first chapter. Not the whole, only those points, because all these points I have taken it from NCERT. This is the book which I refer. It's the standard book that I refer. So you can do what? You can, whatever we have studied about Indian society, that this is the first chapter. There are 13 chapters in that book of Vipin Chandra. And I'm sure once you are able to understand all how to read NCERT, you will be in a situation and you will be a changed person after at least my part is completed. Okay. So that you will do for tomorrow, that just have a read. Read it like a novel. Read it like a novel. Only the chapter 1 and that to selected sections, whatever we have studied. Because there are in detail many things that they will be talking about, because in that first chapter only it is talking about the later Mughals, and it is a long list. In that first chapter only it is talking about how the states of Hyderabad, Bengal, Mysore, Awadh, Marathas, they grew. So it's not that I'm leaving that part, but I'll bring that in whenever it is required. So whatever, like these 5 topics, apart from decline of Mughals, these 4 topics you can have a read from NCERT. It is for that PDF is also available, I think, online, and for yes, old one by Bipin Chandra. अरे वो पुरानी अब 120 रुपए की आती है. Okay, so you can have, if you are having that, that's great for now, and you can read the first chapter. Yeah.
So there is a debate between modern history by Bipin Chandra book and the spectrum.
A spectrum you will enjoy when you are completed with modern history. A spectrum you will enjoy when you are done, you have completed the classroom. Then you can read it like anything. See Ali, I'm an old school teacher who still believes that making notes by your own hand is the only way to achieve success. So my process may take more time. How much more time? That if you will be reading directly spectrum, you will be reading it like in 10 hours, and if you will be reading it after reading NCERT, it will be taking 14 hours. Only this is the difference. But you know that 4 hours in the whole process of reading history will create a huge difference. So spectrum is 248. It may say that okay, it is an arithmetic progression, geometric progression. It may say that cube root is it's like first square, then to the power, then it's the cube of that, then you can go to 2 to the power 4 or so on. But what it is missing, I am not criticizing a book, but what it is missing is that element of increasing order which is there in NCERT. So once you are done with NCERT, read whatever you want if you have time. And honestly, I am telling you, if you have read NCERT with good intent and with good understanding, I don't think so you'll require. You can read it. Now it's up to you how you want to read NCERT, how you want to read that spectrum. I don't have any issue with spectrum. That book is also in my shelf at my home. There are all other books, whatever you will say, they're all present. But honestly, even coming to this, I'll always prefer NCERT because you people are not having any background of history. Spectrum is good for those who have studied history at class 10th, 12th or maybe graduation level. But most of you are engineers or commerce graduate. You are not having any background of history. It won't make much difference because if you will read only Spectrum, 10 hours. Spectrum plus NCERT, 12, 13, 14 hours, not more than that. But those 4 hours will create a huge difference, and that is difference you will see when you'll get your rank.
Okay, sir.
So just that is the, yeah.
So which book you enjoy more reading, Spectrum or Modern History?
It's about, you ask me, I read everything and I said, okay, everything is okay. Because basic facts of history is written everywhere. But there's a difference.
So in which book there is a connectivity?
You'll find it in NCERT.
Okay, sir.
Reason is there. NCERT, because prior coming to this, UPSC, being a UPSC faculty, I was working with NCERT. I worked with them for 2 years. And I know how they work. And even I was the part of, so even, for example, I have to make one chapter. I was being given task of making one chapter for class 11th. I was not knowing, but after the first we had that meeting, and then everyone was asked to come up with their draft. I was asked to come with my draft in a workshop. And I found that the same chapter has been asked, the same thing has been asked to 4 more people. So 5 people, we wrote one chapter, and then we sat together, and then we had a whole brainstorming session over that. This is to be kept, this is not to be kept. Now, when things came out of such a heavy level of filtration, they are pure gold. The words that you will see here, the sentence formation that you see, bigger thing. See, NCERT is hardly pages. This thin book, it's a thinner book. That's bulky. Now what happens? If you will see the Spectrum now, the latest edition has added even up to 2014. Whatever they're talking. But what UPSC is asking, understand that. UPSC is saying that answer these questions in 100 words. Answer in either it's a 150 words or a 250 word. But what they are asking is huge. So when it comes down to answer writing, what you need is selection of very good words or selection of those concepts which could describe, or that way of expressing yourself which could describe the best in the shortest possible form. This is what NCERT is doing. Same history book this thin, same history book this much bulky. So that bulky you can use for enhancing your facts. But if you have to understand the concept which is behind that, then first read NCERT. And there, while reading NCERT, and I'll tell you one beauty of NCERT book. Every time you read it, you will feel that I'm reading it for the very first time. You read it 100 times, and I can bet you every time you will find something new. Okay, and you will realize that you have missed that. So first NCERT, don't deviate from the fundamentals again. First NCERT, then you read Spectrum, and I can tell you after that you will finish Spectrum in hardly a week. But if you have done NCERT, fine. So now we are talking about, so understood what was the situation of India at the beginning of 18th century. Now this was one aspect. Now we'll move on to the main aspect, or the other aspect, that is advent of Europeans, or the coming of Europeans to India. So this is the new thing. Now the question is, why? why Europeans were so much eager to come to India, or rather why they were so much interested in India. Yes, Ankur, you told, yes, Shwetanshu. Then I'll come to Ankur.
That they took such trade reasons, spices, and the wealth of the country.
Okay. Yes, Ankur, you were talking about Ottoman Empire.
So they wanted to go for cheaper trade and make more profit by bypassing sort of empire. So they were looking for new sea route, and spices were already getting traded. And they had a huge demand in the European market. So they just wanted to bypass Ottoman Empire, so they couldn't reach. And every country wanted to have a monopoly on this sea trade.
Okay.
There was a lot of competition going on among various European powers in terms of sea trade, right? Also, there were advancements in the ship technology at that time. These were some of the few factors which motivated them and compelled them to come over here.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Or new market.
New market. Okay. Yes. But already, see, it was one thing, one misconception or one prejudice that you have to throw away today, that the European trade with India started only after the sea route was discovered. No. The trade was going on. It was just the search of alternate routes. No doubt, these routes were faster. These routes, there were many reasons. See. Okay. I'm not that good in drawing, so please tolerate. Thoda sa, hai na? Okay. Symbolically समझ में आ रहा है what I have drawn. This is your Africa. This is your Arabian region. This is Europe. This is your Central Asia. This region. Okay. And this is India. Clear? Well, symbolically you just understand, sir, you are not a good, yes, I am not a cartographer, I know. So what was happening, that in the first millennium and the later on, till 14th century, trade was going normally from here to here. Here they were also interested in Indonesia, Sumatra and this region. Trade was going on through this way. From India to, let's say, present day Pakistan, Afghanistan, Central Asia, Iran, Iraq, hote hue, then cross, and then they go to the Persian, to this Mediterranean and then take it by sea, or they used to from here, either they used to come like this or they used to go like this. This was the ancient route or the previous route. But this route has its own drawbacks, and the first thing first was, this was not an all-season route. The route was having tough terrain and harsh weather at most of the time of year. So the trade was not going in a good manner, first thing. Second, this whole Central Asian region, this Central Asian region, if you will see and if you will realize that they have been inhabited by tribes which were Afghans, Turks, Persians, Tajik, Kyrgyz, Uzbeks. These were all tribes who were dominating this region, and they were dangerous warriors. The reason to that is because of the tough terrain. They were tough. Secondly, their soil was not fertile, so they don't have agriculture as their main occupation. What they had was ship or no, cattle rearing as their occupation. So for food they had to depend on trade. If they could trade well, then it's okay. If not, they used to plunder the convoys which were going to Europe. लूट लेते थे. Because see, they had no other choice. They were living on a surface which is a rocky surface which is not fit for agriculture. So what they will do? Either they will trade, and if they can't trade, what they will do? They will plunder. So that route was not safe. Then also, till 1453 things were going good. Because till 1453, Constantinople, which was the second most important city of Europe after London, was under the control of Christians. If you will see world history, especially after the advent of Islam in 7th century, you will find that the whole world history, especially of this region, this region, not up to India, Afghanistan and westwards, revolves totally around this war between Muslims and Christians. Why? First, religion was one, but secondly, what was the symbol of having, or what was the symbol of strength? That was land. Whosoever is highest amount of land was considered as great. Why Alexander is considered as great? The amount of land he occupied, he conquered. So that was going on here. So what happens in 14th century? In 14th century, Ottoman Empire was established. And after that, even after the establishment of Ottoman Empire, the seat or the real power center, at that point of time, the power center of the world was Constantinople. Constantinople is modern day Istanbul. Okay. So Constantinople, and in 1453 what happened? That Ottoman Empire, (1453) पहली बार डेट बताई सर ने पूरी क्लास में. So in 1453, Constantinople fall to Ottoman Empire, and this changed the whole equation of the world. This changed the power balance of the world. अभी तो अमेरिका तो कहीं क्वेश्चन में है ही नहीं. Now what happened? यहाँ पे, here, this is the Italian peninsula. This is the Italian peninsula. This Italian peninsula, especially the merchant of Venice and Genoa, that region, they monopolized the trade in Europe because the land route was not possible through going through Central Asia, because now Europe was predominantly Christian and Muslim ruler would not allow them that free access initially. This is what they thought, and taking advantage of this situation, these people, that is why I see the city of Florence or the city of Rome, Venice as one of the most prosperous places in Europe at that point of time. So what happened, that these merchants, what they used to do, the Arab traders, they used to take it from India, because the Arab trading from Arab started in 8th century only. So the trade relation in India, the trade relation between Arabs and India is as old as 8th century. So what Arabs used to do, Arabs used to get it from India, and these Italians, they used to get it from Arab, and then they were monopolizing the whole trade of Europe. Understand? So this was the situation which was going on. Now, now they wanted to, the other Europeans who were initially earning the mainland Europe, not the peninsular part, they thought of alternate routes so that they can establish a new trade route or a new trading equation with Asia, and this was done specially by Spain and Portugal, two countries who were very much interested, Spain and Portugal initially. Britain has no role at this point of time. I am talking in 1450s. So at that point of time, because that was the age that is considered to be the age of discovery in Europe, and that was the time when Spain and Portugal were very much interested in getting into new trade routes. Fine. This was the condition that the era of geographical discoveries, it was actually sponsored by the governments of Spain and Portugal. They sponsored that, okay, we are sponsoring Mr. Columbus, you go and search for new sea route. So that was the age. So in 1492 what happened, that Christopher Columbus, accidentally he discovered America. He was not made in charge, or he was not financed to search a sea route for America. Someone told him that you go to the western coast of Europe. This is Spain. This is coast of Spain. So you go to the western coast of Europe and you just sail westwards. You will reach India. He did the same and he reached America. So, and thereafter you see Spain concentrated on that part of the New World. Why New World? Why Americas are called as New World? Because they were discovered later on. That is why you will find that Spanish is mostly broadly spoken language, especially in South America and Central America. Spanish has a good hold. Spanish, Portuguese. So Spain is now out of question. Now I'll tell you just one sequence and then I'll end the class. So Portuguese were the first to come to India. Okay, Portuguese were the first to come to India. Then English, then Dutch, Danish, French, and Swedish. So Portuguese were the first to come to India, and Portuguese came in 1498. Then the next European you see were the English to come, 1600. Next 100 years no one bothered about India, because what they got was the new lands of America. So no one was interested. Then Dutch came after English, 1602. Danish came in 1616. Then French came in 1664, and at last Swedish people came in 1731. So this is the actual sequence. This is the actual sequence of how Europeans came to India. Examination, prelims में कई बार this type of questions can come. Which were the first one to come, or arrange the following Europeans in the sequence that they arrived in India. These are the type of questions that they come. Or they can ask question, consider the following statements. Portuguese were the first Europeans to come to India. Danish were the last Europeans to come to India. Which of the following statements are correct? So question can come in any form. Fundamental information is this. Question can come in any form. But if you remember this, if you know this, so you can have your own ways to, you can create your own jingles. I am not giving anything. You create yourself. Be comfortable. Okay, so I'll stop here for today. Any question, any doubt? Yes.
So,
So what is the right approach to prepare for this particular subject?
Today is the first day. क्या था वो शेर? इब्तिदाए इश्क खैर होता है क्या? आगे आगे देखिए होता है क्या? So that you will learn yourself. I will not be teaching that. I will not be telling you that. I told you, give a time of 25 hours to me. And then you yourself will have all the answers that how to prepare. What I told you, that just read just tomorrow when you come here, when you join here, just read those sections of chapter 1, Bipin Chandra, Old NCERT. Only those sections which I have listed. Don't go for decline of Mughals. So after that, the 4 points, the Indian states and about all that, general information, society, culture, education, economy, whatever we have discussed, just read that. And then you slowly will understand what is going on. Okay? So So just be patient and give some time to yourself. Don't rush into things. Give some time, you'll definitely get all the answers. So okay, I'll stop here.